What is up, all you individuals out there? It's me, full-time anime man, and yes, I'm doing a double upload for What If Deku Was a Storm Wolf, and this will be part 5. So just to give y'all a quick heads up, if this song kinda gets to your buttons a bit, you might wanna turn down your volume. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. This is What If Deku Was a Storm Wolf, part 5. Hope you all enjoy. Where we last left off, both of the boys had a bit of a rough start at school. And Bakugo was in the same class as Denki, and Izuku had made a new nemesis. But the next day came, and the boys had gotten into a fight with their school bullies, and in doing so, it kind of unlocked a new ability for the boys. The boys were reminiscing about what happened, and they just talked for a minute. We pick up right where we left off. During their conversation, Izuku changed the subject. Hey, uh, did you make any good friends at school so far? Yeah, there's some good students here and there, although Bakugo and this one kid named Todoroki, he tends to keep to himself. He's very quiet. What about you? I mean, I have great friends too, but right now I only have like 3 of them and practically one new nemesis. Oh, well, how about we introduce our friends to each other? Yeah, that actually sounds like a good idea. I'll see if I can ask my friends if we can meet up on probably the weekend. We can hang out at the mall. Sounds like a plan? Sure, let's do it. Anyway, when the time came, Izuku met at the mall with his friends, and Denki brought his friends along with him as well. When Jiro saw Izuku, she gave Izuku a long hug that made Kami do the pout face. Jiro says, "It's really great to see you again, Izuku." Hey, it's really good to see you too, Jiro. The two would talk for a minute until it was time for them to move on. Kami would actually take Izuku by his arm and drag him around. Hey, Kami, are you alright? Oh, it's fine. Let's just go. After a while, everyone was well acquainted with each other. Kami and Jiro were definitely well acquainted, just constantly looking at each other with determination every time one of them got close to Izuku. Izuku notices this, and he finally understands what's going on. Taking his brother aside to the bathroom, he informs him of Kami and Jiro's behavior, and hypothesizes that they both like him. Denki says, "Oh wow, that's definitely something. So what are you gonna do?" "Well, I don't know," said Izuku. "I've only known Kami for a few short days, and I only met Jiro that one time during the exams. Now, don't get me wrong, both of the girls are awesome, but I just don't know." Denki thinks for a second and says, "Well, I don't know. What are you gonna do?" Izuku thinks for a second. He says, "Well, maybe I should just start off things slowly with Kami and see where it goes. Because right now, we're just friends, and since I'm not in a relationship with anyone, I'll hang out with Jiro as well as a friend for a while." "Well, if you want to do that, go ahead and do it, bro, but, be careful to not mess around with their emotions." "Yeah, of course." "Oh, Denki, what about you? Do you, have a girl in your class that you have a crush on?" "Oh, well, I'm not gonna lie. I may have feelings for a certain brunette in my class. Her name's Uraka, and I kind of like her. She's very up-spirited and giggly. She's just a lot of fun to be around." "Well, that's awesome, bro. I'm sure she can, like you back. Just keep being yourself, which is the best and awesome." "Thanks, bro." Anyway, come on, I think we kept everyone long enough. Let's go. After some time would pass, everyone would go their separate ways, but not before Jiro gives Izuku one final hug goodbye. Kami then says, I'll see you tomorrow Monday, Izuku. Kami then gives Izuku a very, very passionate hug, but she basically puts Izuku's face in her breast, and Jiro gets in between them. Actually, and Jiro gets a little shocked by this, getting in between them, separating Izuku from Kami. She says, okay, that's enough. Just what do you think you're doing? Said Jiro. Kami says, I'm only showing my appreciation to Izuku for taking me out. That's all. Jiro then says, well, there's better way in doing it than doing what you just did. That was unacceptable. Kami says, that's just the way that I do to all the guys that are nice to me. The old-fashioned way is boring. Like someone that I met today. The two stared intensely at each other, and a blue strand of electricity formed between their eyes. If I had a way of describing that situation, I'd say it went more like this.
After him. He may have been tricked, but you couldn't hide your true intentions from me.
Ah, that's why you couldn't get along.
This is unacceptable. A master should never be treated like some submissive mongrel. I won't allow you to disgrace him anymore. Come on, Keiki, let's go.
No way! Keiki is my property, so let
Silence,
go!
thieving cat!
What? Shut your mouth, you masochistic, filthy dog!
Actually, that's pretty accurate when you think about it, because Jiro and Kami, if you're too young, you'll understand when you're older. Izuku stops them, saying, okay, you two, just calm down. They both stop. And they say their goodbyes while they stomp away. Soon after, Izuku and Denki were walking home, and they were talking when they spot a medium-sized box on their porch addressed to Izuku. For me, he picks up the box. I didn't order anything. Izuku smells it real quick to make sure that it's not anything life-threatening. I don't know, I just get the scent of metallics, I just get the scent of metal and a book. Izuku takes it inside and to his room. He opens it. He was indeed right. It was a book about magnetism, and with it was a canister with a sort of special lock with the symbol of a magnet on it. There was also a note wedged between the pages of the book. It falls out. Strange. I wonder who sent this to me. On the envelope, it says, to young Kaminari from All Might. Both of the boys stared at each other in bewilderment. All Might? He opens the note. It reads, Dear young Kaminari, I heard about the conditions of your first hero suit, and I wanted to help. I had a friend of mine assemble this suit especially for you, but in order for you to equip this suit, you'll need to understand the concept of magnetism. When you are ready, open it, and you open the container and watch the magic happen. Good luck. The end of the note. Oh, wow, a suit is in this thing? Said Denki. I want to see it. Izuku quickly snatched the canister away, saying, No, don't open it. You remember what the note said. I gotta understand the concept of magnetism. When Izuku snatched the canister, he heard rattling noises from inside the canister. He shook it next to his ear and said, well, it sounds like little marbles in here. Is there really a suit in this thing? The can was not very big, but there was certainly a suit in there. Well, there's only one way to find out. Yeah, said Izuku. I'm gonna have to read this. Alright, this might take me all night, but you know me, that's not a problem. Anyway, you should get some sleep, bro. Okay then, I'll see you in the morning. Good night, Izuku. Night, Denki. Anyway, Izuku would turn off all the lights and he would take the book to his desk in his room and turn on a lampshade. And so Izuku begins to read. Halfway through the book, a few hours later, he would say, "Oh, I wonder if I could do that." A few hours would pass, and Izuku would wake up his brother with a lot of excitement. "Hey, bro, wake up, come on, you gotta see this." Denki wakes up, grunting, a little mad that his brother woke him up from his sleep. "Izuku, what is it?" "Dude, you're never gonna believe what I can do now, but you gotta see this." "Well, don't keep me waiting. Tell me what it is." Okay, but first, you got to get out of bed." Fine. Denki takes his first foot off of his mattress, and then the second one. Strange, he thought to himself. Usually his feet are touching the ground whenever he gets out of bed. Without even looking, Denki then fell towards the ground a few feet underneath him, barely catching himself. Whoa, what the heck? He looks back up to see his bed levitating. He was shocked to what he was seeing. What the heck is going on here? "It's me. I'm doing this." "What? But how are you doing this?" Izuku picks up the book and says, and he reads a page. "Magnetism is caused by motions of electric charges. Every substance is made of tiny units called atoms. The movements generate an electrical current that causes each electron to act like a microscopic magnet. And since I can manipulate positive and negative charges, I can cause magnetic reactions." "In English, please." "I have metal kinesis." "Look, watch." Izuku then makes Denki's mattress spin around in a circle and around the room. Denki is even more impressed by Izuku's power, and he wonders if he could do it, but unfortunately he cannot manipulate positive and negative charges, so Denki cannot do it. He then says, "That's so freaking cool." "I know, right? Wait, so does that mean you can open that weird lock on that canister that supposedly has your new suit in it?" "I think so. I read the book like 3 times last night, and I remember everything. Let's call Toshinori." They call Toshinori, and he picks up. "Good morning, young Kaminari." "What can I do for you?" Hey, Toshinori, I've read the book last night, and now I have metal kinesis, which is awesome, by the way. So, can I open the canister now?" "I was hoping you'd call me and finish the book." "Yeah, go ahead. Open it. But be sure to use your new ability to do it." Izuku then magnetically controls the lock in the lock on the canister, and he successfully gets the lock off. He opens the can, and inside was what appeared to be little itty bitty tiny black marbles. All Might, this is just sand. "Not really. Use your magnetic abilities on it." "Oh, okay." Denki watches as Izuku flexes an index finger towards the substance in the can. Suddenly, it starts acting like a watery motion, even though the canister is completely still. "Wow," said Izuku. "Okay, now what?" All Might then said, "Touch it." Izuku looked to the black substance, and he slowly raised his hand up, and he reaches his hand closer to the substance. As it gets closer and closer, the substance then leaps out from the can and onto Izuku. Izuku drops the canister, and the substance starts spreading around his body. Izuku is in panic a little bit, but Denki and All Might calm him down. All Might explains that that is iron and it's just simply attaching itself to his body. Izuku and Denki watch as it makes its way underneath his clothes. Is When it reaches his feet, it stops. The boys stare at each other, and Izuku took off his shirt to reveal the rest of the suit. It was a very thin layer of armor made of iron, taking the shape of his torso and the muscles on his arms. There was even a silver lightning symbol on his chest. Whoa, this is so cool. I know, you look awesome, bro. Izuku then thanks All Might and he says, "My pleasure, young Kaminari. I'll see you boys around." He then hangs up the phone, and Izuku looks at the rest of himself in the mirror. He was covered from torso to toe in his new suit, and he could actually use this suit as for defense or as a weapon as well. Think of it like Venom, only most of his head is exposed, but he could take one part of the metal pieces from his legs and uses it as head coverage. The boys would then go to school, and Izuku would take his suit to school with him, but he would wear the occasional Shiketsu uniform just over it. In his classroom, it was just Kami and him, and Izuku would show his new suit to Kami. She would admire what she is seeing and says, "I like how this new suit shows off all your muscles. Can I touch?" Um, okay, said Izuku. Kami would then touch Izuku's stomach area, saying, "Wow, you got some really nice abs on you." Even though it's a thin layer of metal, Izuku could still feel a little ticklish in that area. "Oh, is this your ticklish spot?" She tickles Izuku again, and Izuku backs away. Wait, I'm ticklish, please don't. She persists and would continuously tickle Izuku. "Tickle, tickle, 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 tickle." Izuku laughs uncontrollably. He says, "Stop it! Stop! No, stop!" After a minute, it was almost time for class to start, and other students would enter the room. Luckily, no one saw what had happened, but Nagomasa, I forget his name, I'm sorry, saw that Izuku was on the ground, laughing. "Izuku, are you alright?" "Yeah, I'm fine." Anyway, he helps him up and they get to their seats. At Denki's point of view, he entered the classroom and was immediately greeted by Jiro. "Hey, Kaminari." "Oh, hey, Jiro, what's going on?" The two would then talk for a minute, and Jiro would talk about the fight that he had with Bakugo a while back. "Hey, why were you yelling those things when you fought Explodo Boy over there? You were talking about how he would never give up, how he would fight till he couldn't fight anymore, how he would always get back up when people would put him down. And when you delivered your final hit, you yelled he'd be awesome. Who were you talking about? Who is he?" "Oh, well, you see, at the moment where I thought I was about to black out, I thought about what my brother would do. And that's just what I said to myself. And then it hit me. All those things I said are exactly what he would do, so I did it as well." "Oh, wow," said Jiro. "You're so deep." Their conversation was interrupted when Mr. Aizawa entered the room and announced that they will be taking a trip to the USJ, the unforeseen simulation joint. Aizawa says, "Everyone get your hero suits on and meet me outside." They all get dressed and aboard the bus, and Sue would try to ask Kaminari about his quirk and how much similar it looks to All Might, but he would give out the excuse that it's a strength enhancement quirk that he had just unlocked a few months ago. Izuku would have a normal day at school doing normal mathematics, and soon Denki's class would arrive at the USJ and they would meet A13 outside, welcoming them inside. She says that they will be doing saving for civilians in different natural catastrophes. But she was cut off when she sees that everyone was looking downwards instead of paying attention to her. And she turned around and looked and saw a man with light blue hair wearing a black sweater with what appeared to be mannequin hands all over his body. He speaks. "Sorry to intrude. We're the League of Villains and we're here to watch this symbol of peace take his last breath. Strange, I don't see him. Maybe if we kill a few of his little kitties, he'll come out and play." To them, there was only one of him. Bakugo says, "Ha! You in what army?" Shigaraki then smiled and he extended both of his arms outwards, and the purple portal that was behind him then extended wider, and more than 100 people walked through it. Aizawa equips his goggles and says, "Everyone get outside and call for help. 13, protect the kids. I'll buy you some time." He then leaps into action and begins to fight the villains, deactivating their quirks and taking them down. Everyone would run towards the open door when it mysteriously shuts, trapping them inside. Before them, a sort of purple mist appeared in front of them, and with it came a voice. He would have a normal talk with them, but Kirishima and Bakugo would jump in to attack him, only to disappear and be transported to a different part of the USJ. Korigiri says, "That's a good idea. I'll spread you around the complex, and you could meet my friends." Korigiri opens up a portal underneath every student. Some managed to dodge, but Kaminari was sent through one. As Denki falls, he looks up at the light that he was just at, and he desperately tries to reach for it, only to be completely submerged and swallowed by the darkness. From Izuku's point of view, he had a strange feeling that something was wrong. He then quickly stood up and walked towards the door. This caught everyone's attention, including Kaiichi's. "Izuku, are you okay?" Izuku then heard the familiar voices of Nana Shimura. "Your brother, he's in danger. USJ, get help." Izuku continues to intensely stare out the window, and then he says, "Mr. Kaiichi, what is this USJ?" It's short for unforeseen simulation joint. Why? What's wrong? Where is it? It's just a while that way. Why? Izuku thinks quickly and he says, "The USJ is under attack. We need to take action right now. Call the police and any available pro hero and send them there immediately." "Izuku, please, just calm down." Izuku slams his fist into his desk and saying, "There's no time to talk. Do it now." Izuku then runs out of his classroom, but not before Kami tries to stop him, saying, "Izuku, what's wrong? I have to save my brother." As Izuku calls All Might to inform him of the situation, He says that he'll be there as soon as possible. They both hang up their phone and Izuku intensely drops his. As he runs down the empty hallways, he unbuttons his shirt and splits the center of it open, revealing his lightning symbol. When he makes it outside, he is wearing his hero suit and he transforms into his werewolf form and uses his electricity at the same time, using full cowling, and completely zooms to the USJ. At the USJ, everyone was doing their best to fight off the villains. Denki was putting up a good fight, mostly using his electricity and using one for all to anyone who got close to him or tried to hurt his friends. Sue and Mineta are in a bit of trouble, but Sue would use her tongue to smack the villains off the boat, whoever tried to get on, and Mineta would snare them in his sticky balls once they touch it. On the stairs, some students were fighting Korigiri trying to escape and get help. Little did they know that help was already on the way. In the progress of trying to oh man, I lost my spot. Okay, in the progress of trying to apprehend 13 in the process of trying to apprehend Korigiri, 13 ended up harming herself using her suction that Korigiri redirected on her. Aizawa was proceedingly getting more and more tired, and he was still able to fight. Outside, Wolfie Izuku made it to the USJ. He hears the commotion going on inside and desperately tries to get in to help. He tries to use the door, but it was locked. Damn it! How am I supposed to get in? Izuku runs around the building like 100 times, and after 10 seconds, in the back of the building, he notices the power conduit that feeds the building its electricity. Izuku then remembers the day that the day that he possessed the robot, not tried, the zero pointer, and he says, if that worked on a robot, could it do the same thing to this building? There's only one way to find out. Izuku backs up a few steps, getting a running start, and then he conjures a ball of electricity to his mouth. I hope this works, said Izuku. He then charges in, and with a small jump, he comes in contact with the power conduit. His body, along with his suit, contorted into electrical particles, and he successfully took control of the USJ. In the process, it was a little different. You see, instead of going down a dark tunnel, Izuku saw what appeared to be wires, just an endless tube of it, but when he reached the end of it, there was a bright light. When he opened his eyes, he appeared to be in front of a red screen showing every security camera in parts of the USJ. In Izuku's surroundings, it looks like he was floating in an endless void of darkness, as if he was in space. His eyes widened in bewilderment. Oh my god, I'm in control of the USJ! Without even knowing, he spoke over the intercom. Everyone heard him. Izuku? Said Denki. Hey, bro, I'm here to help. Shigaraki says, what the hell? Who is that? Denki, quick, tell me what's going on. Denki speaks to the roof, saying, my friends are scattered all around this place, and we can't get the doors open. Can you help them? Don't worry, I'm on it. Izuku then took to the screen, looking at his arsenal of options of things that he could do. First, he opens the doors to the USJ, pressing a button. The doors slam open and everyone runs past Korigiri and managed to escape. Next, he went to a different simulation First, he was at the fire zone. He saw Ojiro fighting villains by himself. Izuku looked at his options, and he saw that he was able to control the fire and how it flowed. He spoke over the intercom. "Hey, Ojiro!" "What? Who said my name?" "It's me, Izuku. Quickly, get down!" He lays down on his stomach and covers his head with both of his arms, while the villains looked up, distracted, wondering what the heck is going on and who said that. Little did they know that they were standing right next to the open windows of the burning buildings. Izuku then cranked up the fire flow, and fire immediately blew out at the villains, severely burning them, setting them ablaze. Luckily, these villains were smart enough to stop, drop, and roll, putting the fire out, but they were in complete shock. Ojiro was a little shocked himself, but relieved that it was finally over. "Quickly, I opened the door for you to get out. Follow the path that I've made for you and leave this place." "Right," said Ojiro. In the heavy rain zone, Izuku sees Tokoyami and Koda were readying themselves for a fight, Tokoyami looking a little more ready for the fight, while Koda is shaking in his boots with his fists in the air. Izuku pressed a button and the villains started flying all over the place around Tokoyami and Koda. What's going on?" said Koda. The two young boys stared in bewilderment as the villains continued to fly around them. Izuku spoke to them. "Hey, Koda, Tokoyami, it's me, Izuku. Don't worry, I'm here to get you out of this." The wind around them started to pick up, and a tornado formed around them, and the villains were having a hard time breathing, with the wind literally taking their breath away and them passing out from spinning too fast. When it ended, they all plummeted back to the ground, exhausted. Izuku said, "Quickly, to the exit!" The two then ran, and Izuku goes to the shipwreck zone. More villains were able to board the boat, but they were snared by Monetta's trap, and Sue was getting more tired. Izuku saw that the pool had a wave setting just at the bottom of the water. Let's see, what can this do? He pushes a button. Almost immediately, the water around them started moving really fast. Some of them were trying to fight the drift, but were unsuccessful. "Oh, what's this? A whirlpool. Let's see what that's all about." Izuku pushes the button, and a whirlpool starts happening. The boats goes around in a circle around the whirlpool, and Izuku tells Sue and Mineta to hold on. They do this, and the villains get dizzy. Izuku manages to make the boat he manages to get the water to toss it out of the water and onto land. "Are you two okay?" "Yeah, we're fine." "Oh, ribbit." "Okay, stay on your guard and head towards the exit." They get up and they run, and Izuku sees the rock zone. Denki and Jiro and Yaoyorozu were doing okay. He thinks that they'll be fine since there's not a lot of them left, and he moves on. He sees Kirishima and Bakugo were doing just fine on their own, and he moves on. He then looks to another camera on the USJ, and he sees that Aizawa was at his limit on his quirk. His eyes were dry and red, and he was panting really fast. Izuku thought to himself that he needed to help him, thinking that he needed to get out of this situation that he is currently in. But before he could do anything, Izuku sees that Shigaraki is coming at Aizawa, and he touches his elbow. Aizawa screams in agony as blood began to spill. He distanced himself from Shigaraki, and as Izuku watches Shigaraki smile and point right behind Aizawa. He looks to where he's pointing, and Aizawa didn't see this, but a giant bird-like creature was approaching him. Aizawa, look out! But unfortunately, Aizawa was too late to see. The giant bird thing then grabbed him by his head, and it slammed his face to the ground, cracking the ground. Izuku watched as it did it again and again. A roaring fire was building up inside of Izuku. Izuku then had adrenaline filling his veins. He had to do something. He couldn't just sit there and not do anything. He would do something electrically, but unfortunately, they were only standing next to a water fountain. There was nothing that Izuku could do other than face this thing head on. And so, using the speakers overhead that was spread around the USJ, 8 strands of electricity met up in one spot, and Izuku, in his human form, dashed towards the Nomu while yelling, "Detroit! Smash!" He was able to land a punch of 100% of One for All on the Nomu, causing a huge gust of wind. And around the USJ. This caught everyone's attention. When the smoke cleared, Izuku saw that his fist was in contact with the Nomu, but it didn't do anything. The Nomu just stared into Izuku's eyes, and when Izuku looked back into the Nomu's eyes, he was in complete shock for what he saw, for this Nomu had no soul behind it. Whoever this person was, it was gone. The Nomu then dropped Aizawa, and then it grabbed a hold of Izuku's neck, holding him up, waiting for Shigaraki's instructions. Shigaraki walks closer. I wonder who you are. Well, I don't remember you in our group, so you must be a hero wannabe. I wonder, what should we do with you? He leans in closer towards Izuku. Izuku then shoots 1,000,000 volts of electricity at Shigaraki's face, leaving a scar in the shape of electricity going up from his lips up towards his eye, spreading around. Shigaraki screams in agony while holding his still smoking face, and when he brings his hands down, it revealed his scar. He looked back up at Izuku and said, "Why, you little, I'll kill you for that!" He then reached a hand up and was going to touch Izuku. Izuku couldn't help but feel scared when this man's hands got closer and closer to his face. His fingers then connected with Izuku's face, and Izuku closed his eyes preparing for something to happen, but nothing happened. They both looked down to see Aizawa canceling Shigaraki's quirk. "I swear, you could be a real pain in the butt sometimes." He then began to stomp at Aizawa's face, giving him a black eye, making him stop and knocking him out. He looks back up to Izuku and was about to finish him, but then he remembers the electricity thing and gets an idea. He smiles and says, "Nomu, feed him to the fishes, or let's see if his own electricity will kill him for us." Izuku's eyes widen. Water? Oh no. If he comes in contact with that water, he could die in a matter of 2 minutes, or 3. He desperately fights back, shaking and shooting electricity at the Nomu, but that doesn't do anything. The Nomu is too strong. And with one fell swoop, the Nomu then threw Izuku towards the water area. His body then tossed and turned a few times and skipped on the hard surface, trying to stop himself, but he couldn't. and when he reached the water, he was completely submerged. Izuku curled up into a ball and prepared for the pain, but it never happened. While he was holding his breath, he thinks for a second and thinks in his head, because he can't speak underwater. Oh, wait, this must be purified water. Electricity can't be conducted in distilled water. There's no impurities, and thus no ions. There's only neutral molecules, and these neutral molecules lack charges. So I'm safe from that, but there's just one problem. Izuku's iron suit drags him down to the water, and Izuku said in his mind, I can't swim! Izuku tries his hardest to swim back up to the surface, but unfortunately nothing he tried seemed to work. He felt his lungs were decompressing, and he thought that it was all over. But then he saw someone standing above the water and a thin figure coming towards it. It was Sue. She came to rescue him. A smile came across Izuku's face, but unfortunately his miracle was interrupted when a shark-like creature slashed at Sue's tongue, making it retreat. Izuku found himself surrounded by the water villains. One of them approached Izuku and taunting him. Oh, look at what we got here. A little hero, isn't it? Another one of the villains approached him and said, Oh, what's wrong? You can't breathe? Well, here, let me help you get back to the surface. He grabbed Izuku by both sides of his torso and brings him up to the surface of the water, but he did not bring his head above it. Oh, come on. You're just right there. You just need to swim. Go ahead. Izuku he flaps his arms and he kicks his feet, but either the villain was still holding him to prevent him from swimming upwards, or his suit was just holding him down. Oh well, don't say I tried to help you. He then lets go of Izuku and he sinks back down to the bottom of the water. He swims down to the pool's floor. The villains then tried to swim at Izuku, trying to attack him, but then Izuku did a one-for-all flick of his fingers, causing a shockwave, paralyzing the water villains for a few seconds. Izuku looks around and he sees a ladder. He walks towards it, but before he could grab a hold of the ladder, the villains were freed from their paralysis and they grabbed Izuku, stopping him when he was so close to grabbing the ladder. He tries to flick his fingers again, but one of the villains then stuffed his fingers in between Izuku's fingers, preventing him from doing that. No, 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 we can't have you doing that again. They all then began to hold Izuku down towards the ground, restraining his arms and his legs. He thinks to himself, not good, not good, not good. I can't breathe. I'm panicking. The young boy can feel his chest as if it was about to explode. He gets lightheaded and he feels like he can't hold his breath any longer. I just need to hang in there a little while longer. Someone will rescue me. I just need to hold on a little while longer. From up above the water, Sue sees that Izuku was in trouble, and she sends off to find help, but when she did this, All Might came through the open doors and said, Have no fear, for I am here. He sees Shigaraki and the Nomu staring at him from at the bottom of the stairs, and Aizawa knocked out and beaten. Without even a second thought, All Might then jumped into action and would start to fight the Nomu. While they fought, Sue jumped on top of a mountain pile of rocks and spotted Denki. She yelled in a panic, Kaminari! Kaminari! Denki then turned around to face her and said, "What's wrong, Sue? Your brother, he's drowning!" Denki's eyes widened when he heard that his brother was drowning. In in water? What? Yelled Denki. From behind him, he heard Jiro and Yaoyorozu say, "Don't worry about us. Yeah, go help your brother." Denki then nodded in agreement and he followed Sue to the water area. From down below, Izuku was at his limit. He felt like his lungs had collapsed, and he felt like he was about to pass out. He spoke to himself. "I just need to keep hanging on. Someone will rescue me." When he thought that, his vision got darker. Someone, and darker. Anyone, and darker. Please, save me. The breath from his mouth that he was holding escaped and made its way to the surface. When it reached the surface of the water, it popped. Sue and Denki saw where it came from, and Denki immediately jumped in without even thinking of a plan. He swam downwards, and water villains swam up to attack him, but Denki did the same thing that Izuku did, flicking the water, causing all of them to be paralyzed, but this time it was a lot more stronger. This making this a lot more longer for them to be paralyzed. Moving as quick as he could, he then grabbed Izuku and then swam back to the surface. When he reached the surface, Sue assisted him, pulling them out with her tongue. Denki, tightly clenching onto his brother's body, puts him down on the ground. He was quiet. He didn't open his eyes, and he wasn't breathing. "No," said Denki. "Izuku!" Denki then quickly, smacked Izuku in the face a few times to snap him out of it. But he wasn't unconscious. "Izuku, come on! Come on, man, wake up! Izuku!" Denki then started to do CPR on his brother, lifting his head backwards and applying pressure to his chest over and over again. Sue watches as Denki tries to revive his brother. He then covers his nose with his index finger and his thumb, and then breathes down his throat, and then applies pressure once again. This goes on for 2 minutes, trying to revive his brother, but nothing. Denki then began to cry because his brother was just gone like that. Denki then takes Izuku in his arms and he rocks back and forth while saying, "Izuku, please, please don't leave me. I love you, brother. Please, please, you gotta go back to me. Please come back to me." Denki starts to cry. Sue drops a few tears herself, witnessing the death of one of her friends' relatives. Suddenly, we hear a voice. What's going on? We then get a vision from the roof view angle, and Denki holding Izuku's body. Is that me? What's going on? Denki, what's happening? It was Izuku's ghost. He began to float upwards towards the roof, and then he phased through the ceiling, and then through the clouds that were just flying overhead. What's happening? He began to flew into outer space faster and faster. He saw that he was flying towards the sun, and the light of the sun blinded him, and all he had to use to point out his surrounding was sound. All he heard was a loud whoosh, and then quietness. An eerie silence took place. But then he heard the sound of wind, and he felt the wind brush against his skin. He slowly opens his eyes, and Izuku found himself in an oat field with the sun on the horizon. While looking around, he sees nothing else, just endless amounts of oats and hills. There was no trees, there was no buildings, there was no grass, there was nothing. But then, in the distance, he sees what appears to be a woman with green hair and dog-like ears. He slowly approaches her. Back on Earth, All Might was having a bit of a hard time dealing with the Nomu's shock absorbent quirk, while Denki was still grieving over the loss of his brother. Sue slowly approaches Denki with concern. Look, Kaminari. Suddenly, Denki then started to shake out of anger, with an explosion of electricity emanating off of his body. This caught the attention of everyone in the USJ, and they all thought, is that Kaminari? They went to investigate. His eyes then gave off a little bit of a glow, and his hair stood upwards into a sort of spiky form. His irises then took a different shape that resembled a star. As his body let off a yellow glow, lightning then fell from the sky, and when it struck the USJ ceiling top, it caused the glass to shatter and fall near the grieving brother. He then slowly puts Izuku's body down, and he walks towards the watering area. The villains were free from their paralyzation, and they swam up towards Denki to attack. Denki then placed his electrified hand into the water and caused it to vaporize. Soon, the entire USJ was flooded with smoke. All Might's fight with the Nomu was slowed down thanks to it. What the hell is all this? Where did this smoke come from? Somebody open a window or something, said Shigaraki. The USJ smoke detectors went off, and the vents then aired out the vaporization. When the smoke cleared, Sue watched as Denki walked away, looking like a mindless zombie. Kaminari, where are you? Sue stops and gasps from what she had saw, for in the pool area, the water villains were scorched to death. If there was a way that I had to describe of what their bodies look like, I would compare it to somebody dying from starvation, with most of their bones being shown, like their skin just sinking into their bones, and their skin was red as if they were boiled alive. Sue felt like she was about to throw up from what she had saw and the foul stench that came with it. She crawls back over to Izuku's body, shocked from what Denki had done. Jiro and Yaoyorozu ran over towards Sue. They followed the lightning where Denki let off. Jiro is the first to speak. Sue, what's wrong? Are you hurt? She stops in mid-sentence when she saw Izuku's dead body lying on the ground. Oh no, said Yaoyorozu. She ran over towards Izuku's body and tried CPR on him as well. Sue told them that Denki already tried that, and that's why he's going berserk. They both start to cry for the loss of their friend. Denki was walking around looking for more villains that were involved in the attack and the death of his brother. Soon, he came across more villains, who ran at Denki. Denki then reached out with one of his hands, slowly, and the villains couldn't help but notice the look on Denki's face, like he doesn't care anymore and that he has nothing to lose. Huh, that should make this more easier. One of the villains then charged at Denki with his fist drawn backwards, and then, when he swung at Denki, Denki caught his fist in his hand, and when Denki touched the villain, lightning that was from above struck the villain, leaving his clothes behind and a pile of ashes landing on top of the discarded clothing. The rest of his colleagues saw what had happened. They were angered that this kid had taken out one of their colleagues and wanted to exact revenge for him. One of the villains then tried to attack Denki with a melee weapon, only for Denki to use full cowling and charge at the villain, tagging him in the chest and turning him into a pile of ashes as well. Back to the girls, they were soon approached by their other classmates, Kirishima and Bakugo. Bakugo speaks. Hey, what the hell are you three doing? The villains are still around here. We need to... He looks and he sees Izuku's body as well. He was shocked by what he had saw. He slowly approached him and stopped when he reached Izuku. What happened? Sue tells him about the villains that drowned him and Denki going berserk because of it. Bakugo looks towards the light of Denki and then he looks back to Izuku's body. Bakugo started to have flashbacks to when he was mean to Izuku and Denki and how unfair he treated them and started to have regrets for doing that. No, said Bakugo. No, you better open your eyes right now. Duh! Duh! Bakugo then began to slam both of his fists down on Izuku's chest. Yaoyorozu said, Bakugo, stop! No, he's not dead. Not yet. Kirishima steps in. Bakugo, come on, there's nothing we can do. Shut up, shitty hair! Duh! He continues to bang at Izuku's chest. In the other world, Izuku reached the woman. She had long green hair and dog-like ears. She was facing away from him. He could not see her face. Izuku wasn't sure what it was, but he felt like he was connected to this woman. Excuse me, ma'am. The woman quickly turns around and was frightened. Her eyes were widened when she saw Izuku. She just stood there, not saying anything, but she was on the brink of tears. After a few seconds, she slowly walked towards Izuku, and she raises her hands up to his face and she touches him. When she touched his face, Izuku felt like he was home, like he belonged with her. Who are you? Inko then spoke. No, you can't be here. What happened to you? I don't know where I am or how I got here. Inko then looked behind Izuku. There was a portal that was outlined with golden dust that went in a circle, clockwise. Izuku looked and saw Bakugo banging on his chest, and the girls trying to stop him. Inko speaks with excitement. Oh, this is great. This is really great. You still have a chance to go back home and live again, but you have to go. The portal is closing. She pushes Izuku to the portal, but before he could step through it, Izuku stops her, wanting to know who she is. But wait, who are you? Inko then tucks in both of her lips, trying to fight back the tears. She then reached up towards Izuku's face and she said, "I'm your mom." Izuku's eyes widen and he thinks to himself, "What? This woman is my mom? But how? I thought I was I thought I was the delayed child. But if she's my mom, then who is the woman that has been taking care of me my entire life?" Izuku looked to the portal that led back to his body. The portal then began to shrink. Izuku then turned around and said, "But wait, what happened to you?" Huh? Izuku was spooked for what he had saw. His supposed mother, her whole body was scorched and burned. Most of her hair was gone, and one of her eyes was closed, while the other one was still open, leaving the iris a sort of grayish color, meaning she was blinded in one eye. Her face was gone and her teeth were seen. There were bits and pieces of her flesh dangling off of her face, and she shook as if she was in a lot of pain. She had an angry look on her face that really put Izuku on ease. When she spoke, she had a sort of ominous voice that made her sound really scary. "Go home!" Izuku then fell back, falling into the portal. As he flew back, he saw the light of the world that he was in getting smaller and smaller, and he heard his mother's voice. "I'm sorry." As Izuku flew back down to Earth, he saw an image of space passing by him. As he went back towards the Earth, he flew into the clouds that were overhead of the USJ, and inside, the classmates managed to get Bakugo off of Izuku just in the nick of time. For when Izuku flew into the clouds, lightning then fell from the sky, striking his body. That brought Izuku back to life. Water began to spill out from Izuku's mouth. He was choking and gagging for air. And after a few seconds, he finally managed to regain his breathing, but was still rattled about everything that had just happened. The classmates quickly ran over to him, making sure that he was alright. Jiro asked, "Izuku, oh my goodness, are you okay?" Izuku couldn't even find the right words, for he was still shocked from what he had endured. Sue speaks. "Izuku, there's something going on with your brother. He's killing villains. You gotta stop him." Izuku looks to where Denki was and saw him turn someone into a pile of ashes. He quickly got up and ran towards him while yelling his name. He runs, and Izuku saw the fight between All Might and the Nomus. He wanted to assist All Might, but he saw that his brother was doing bad. And so he ran over to his brother and assisted him. "Denki! Denki, stop!" Denki ignores his brother, for he is too focused on the villain that he was going for. Denki approaches the villain, who was on the ground in submission, begging for mercy. But Denki ignored his plea. He reaches a hand out to tag him, but he was stopped when Izuku grabbed him by the wrist and said, "Denki, please stop!" Denki slowly looks to Izuku, and they meet each other's gaze. Denki's eyes widened when he saw him. His hair went back to normal, and the light that surrounded his body slowly faded away. Is Izuku? Yes, Denki, I'm back. Please, just calm down. He faces him, and he slowly starts to cry, bringing his brother in for a hug. The two boys then kneel down, and Denki's tears run down Izuku's iron suit. Denki spoke, but his voice kept breaking. I, 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 I thought, I thought, I thought I'd lost you forever. I know it was scary, but I'm okay. After a minute, the two boys then hear the fight going on with All Might and the Nomu, and they band together to help. Denki says, "Are you sure that you are well enough to fight, brother?" "Yes, I'm fine. After all, we fight until we can't fight anymore, right?" "Right. Let's go." Both of the boys then charged up full cowling. Izuku then turned himself into his werewolf form, and him and his brothers did that same pose the same day that they got their quirk, prepared for a fight. As lightning fell from the sky and circulated both of the boys. From the distance, Bakugo was bewildered of what he was seeing the Kaminari brothers the way that they were. It took him back to that day where him and his friends kickstarted his quirk and activated them. And it was at that moment that Bakugo realized that they are stronger than ever and had a new perspective on them. In other words, he was envious of them. The boys then charged up full cowling, let me just clarify that again, and uses their super speed to take down as many of the remaining villains that either tried to escape or that were still trying to fight. From the door, Izuku's friends, Kami, Nagamasa, Inasa, even Saiji came to help him. One of the villains would try to escape, and Saiji would turn that villain into a meatball, stopping him. Izuku ran up the stairs and said, "Guys, what are you doing here?" Kami spoke. "Like, we're here to help you. You really think that we would let you do this alone?" Inasa said, "Yeah, we're a team." Nagamasa says, "We fight together." Izuku smiles and said, "Okay, just make sure the villains don't escape here. They must face justice for what they've done." They replied, "You got it," while Saichi just said, "Don't tell me what to do, Kaminari." They would help take down any remaining villains, whereas All Might and the Nomus and Shigaraki and Korigiri were the last ones standing. Izuku reverted back to his human form, and he and Shigaraki shared a look. Shigaraki gets irritated. "Why won't you just die?" He charges at Izuku, but Izuku shoots a lightning ball at him, sending him flying into a wall. When he landed, his clothes were smoking, and he passed out. All Might is having a hard time with the Nomu and was trapped by Korigiri, and the Nomu drove his fingers deep inside All Might's sides. Izuku and Denki were about to step in to help him, but they were halted when Bakugo and Todoroki stepped in instead. All Might was freed from the trap, and the two were able to continue their fight. But before they did, Izuku ran up to All Might and said, "Hey, All Might, here, use this." Izuku touches All Might's hands and gives him parts of his suit that would harden his fist. That would help him make his hits a lot stronger. This makes it more easier to deplete the Nomu's shock resistance. But even with that out of the way, The Nomu is still too much of a threat to survive, and so the boys get an idea as the clouds start to move away, revealing the light of the sun hitting them in the face, and they get an idea. As the Nomu starts to get tired of getting hit, Denki yelled All Might's name, getting his attention. He then pointed upwards towards the sun, and All Might gets the message, yelling at the boys to get in position. Izuku and Denki stand in place, and they get ready to use it. Get ready now. Izuku reaches over to his brother with his right hand, and he touches Denki's right shoulder, while Denki reaches over with his left hand and he touches Izuku's left shoulder. The boys then began to repeatedly send energy through each other, and they both started to glow a bright yellow light. All of the 1A students watched in bewilderment, wondering what is going on. Izuku and Denki's special attack is ready. All set to go, said Denki. All Might then landed the final blow on the Nomu, sending it to the sky. Ready, said Izuku. I'm ready, said Denki. I'll give it a little, Izuku then said, and I'll give it a lot. Both of the boys then said at the same time, while yelling, Of what? Special Brother Beam Cannon! The beam cannon then struck the Nomu, sending it further into the sky, out of Earth's atmosphere, and into space as it floats to the sun. The battle is over, the heroes have won, but unfortunately Shigaraki and Korigiri have escaped. Damn it, said All Might. They got away. He turns around and faces the other students. Is everyone alright? They all will reply that they're okay, but it would appear that Izuku has passed out in Denki's arms. It's alright, bro. I got you. A few hours would pass, and Izuku would wake up in a hospital. The sun had set, and his parents and brother were asleep in chairs next to his bed. As he continues to lie there, Izuku does his best to recollect the moment after he drowned. A flashback ensues when that woman, Inko, said that he was his mom, his real mom. The flashback ends and Izuku looked over to his sleeping parents. Well, in this case, he's not so sure who they are anymore. Looking over to his brother, he was stretching and yawning. He opens his eyes and sees Izuku awake. Oh, Izuku, you're awake. How are you feeling? The doctor said that there was a lot of water still in your lungs, but they managed to get it out. Izuku clenches his blanket tightly in his fist. What's wrong? Izuku slowly looks up to his brother and says, I think we're half brothers, Denki. What? What do you mean? Their parents then wake up, and they were relieved that their other son was awakened. Mother speaks. Oh, Izuku, you're awake. Father then says, Are you alright, son? Izuku intensely stares at the two parents. Mother says, Son, why are you staring at us like that? Izuku says, I need to ask you both something, and I need you to be honest. And that's the end of the story. Wow. Even I gotta say that was gut-punching. Man, I wonder what Father will do now that Izuku knows the truth. Will they both be honest with him? Or will they just continue to lie to him? Well, we'll find out in the next episode. Anyway, I hope everyone has a nice day, and if you made it to the end of this video, consider yourselves #blessed, and I hope, and I really do hope, that everyone has a nice day.